Kevin Durant and TJ Warren are going to Phoenix in exchange for Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 firsts, and a pick swap. And Mo, the Suns got a steal here. What a deal for the Suns.
Dave, am I in the wrong place? I thought this was the Jakob Poeltl emergency podcast.
No. That happened on the other thing. Yeah.
No.
The game has changed here.
This is an unbelievable, massive move, I think. And it's excuse me for cursing here for a second. If you have to bleep it out, you have to bleep it out. But it was one of those things I looked at my phone and just said, holy fuck, while walking the dog, and literally go look at my dog going like, gonna have to move quicker, buddy. We got to go and get back to the house. And I mean, this changes the entire complex of the complexion of the Western Conference. When you look at it being so muddled, it's one of those things where you just go like, okay, we've been talking about there not being a clear favorite, maybe the Denver Nuggets. Well, I think now we kind of have a clear favorite.
Yeah, it has to be the Phoenix Suns. Listen, when you look at what they can put on the court, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, that could be enough by itself to win you the West. I mean, these guys are that good, but they kept DeAndre Ayton for now. I mean, we're recording this at 11 o'clock Pacific, Wednesday night before the trade deadline, the day before the trade deadline. So they still have DeAndre Ayton. They still have Chris Paul. They've got a lot of experience, and now they add Kevin Durant.
I mean, just think about, they have 4 pieces for their starting lineup. It's CP, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton. Just their 4th piece. Dave, you could be the 5th starter, and I don't think it would matter that much. I mean, like, that's a very loaded team right there. They do have a hole at the power forward spot. They're going to have to kind of figure out how to make that work a little bit. But, I mean, maybe you move Saric into the starting spot. Maybe you go, Torrey Craig. It's going to be interesting. Maybe they try to find somebody in the buyout market, depending on how things play out now. But that's a hell of a top 4.
Yeah, and I mean, there's nothing really stopping them defensively from playing KD up a bit. His shot blocking, and especially this year, I thought his defense before he got injured was pretty good. He was having one of the better defensive seasons that he's had in a while. But the truth is, they're going to be able to score so much that 4th or 5th spot in the starting lineup might not actually matter. Mo, they may be able to just find a guy who's a high motor defensive player.
Yeah, and to be honest, also, I don't think they're going to be a bad defensive team. Yes, losing Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson is going to hurt defensively for sure, but I don't feel like they're going to be, let me put it this way, I don't feel like they're going to be the Dallas Mavericks defensively, and I'm not as worried about them on the defensive end. This is a team, this was a hell of a move from the Phoenix Suns. It was a massive swing. They've 4 draft picks and a future and a swap. Like, that's a big move, but worth it when it's a guy like Kevin Durant. And, good first day for Matt Ishbia as the new owner of the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, new ownership always loves to make a splash. They run a lot of pick and roll there offensively. How do you see them working Kevin Durant into what they do offensively? I mean, obviously, he's actually a decent screener, and he's there's probably not a better guy popping in the league. I mean, as far as drawing the defense. So other than maybe seeing Kevin Durant a little bit more as a screener, how do you think they'll use him?
I mean, Dave, I think you got to be terrified of the new iterations of the Spain pick and roll they could run now. Just imagine CP running the Spain pick and roll with Booker and KD in the action, or just have KD on the weak side. Good luck trying to help now, in that instance. It becomes very challenging there. Just that alone is something. But I think they just have so many weapons now offensively. And, it's CP has looked like he's lost a step at a time. He's looked better as of late as this team has gotten healthier as well. And they're kind of rising in the standings. You're watching this and you're just saying, like, this is good luck stopping them, because Booker can go off now for 40 and KD can go off for 40. I think this is an unbelievable situation there that they have. And now CP doesn't even have as heavy of a load on the offensive end. I think this is just a incredibly great move, obviously, right? Trading for Kevin Durant. Oh, great move. Good analysis, Mo. But I just think what they can do offensively, it's just wide open. And now you have 2 guys that can completely go one-on-one at the end of clocks. I mean, defenses are just going to have massive headaches.
And now for Brooklyn, I mean, I want to start with just the promise of a few years ago. You know, they had this fun team under Kenny Atkinson, and we all loved rooting for them. You know, they had these wild personalities. They played above their head, and then all of those guys, including Kenny Atkinson, were gone to get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and then James Harden. And now all those guys are gone. This has been, I mean, ultimately, you can't call this anything but a failure, Mo. I mean, this was like they didn't sniff a championship. They were marred by off the court stuff. Injuries obviously played a part in this, but what a disappointing few years for the Brooklyn Nets and their fans.
Absolutely. You go from getting KD and Kyrie being extremely ecstatic just with that. You get Harden in the massive trade. And now, after all of this, you end up with Ben Simmons. Like, that's just soul crushing a little bit for Brooklyn Nets fans. I think the injuries just played such a massive role for this team, because I think everything you start, besides some of the off-court drama that Kyrie started, a lot of these issues started with injuries. KD goes down, Kyrie's in the vaccination world where he's not getting the vaccination shot. He's got to sit out. And now it's just James Harden. He's like, I didn't sign up for this. And it becomes a massive problem there. And then, KD goes down again this year after they went 18-2. Like, once they've fixed the ship and go 18-2, you're thinking like, wow, this Nets team really might have something. Then KD goes down, and now you have the situation with Kyrie. He demands a trade. This is going to be the greatest what if team we're ever going to have, just because when those three guys were right and on the court together, they were unstoppable, Dave. And it's pretty depressing on that end. I'll say this for Brooklyn though, they did load up now after they gave so many assets to get James Harden. They did load up on getting assets. They're going to be trying to find a new home for Crowder at the very moment as we're speaking. I imagine Sean Marks might not be sleeping until the trade deadline passes tomorrow. But I think this is just going to be a big it's a blow for sure. It hurts. And now you just got to figure out what you're going to do moving forward. But this is a team that's going to be probably tanking for the next few years.
Well, and they've picked up some players here in these trades with Kyrie, for the Kyrie trade and the KD trade, that other teams are at least going to want to kick the tires on. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie is a pretty good player. If you're just going to tank, you might as well move on from him. Dorian Finney-Smith is another guy. I mean, they've got a bunch of guys. They've got a bunch of guys who would fit in very, very well on good teams, but not so much on whatever this Nets team is going to be.
I'm going to throw just one wild thing out, and it's late and I'm tired. And this is just and this is also just the start of my evening, considering how much more work I have now. But if I'm the Cleveland Cavs, I'm calling about Dorian Finney-Smith every half hour at this point until if I can get Sean Marks tired enough to just accept some sort of deal. But I'm trying to make a run at Dorian Finney-Smith right now. Like, that's something I think contenders should really be trying to say, like, all right, well, it seems like the Nets are pivoting in a certain direction. Let's see if we can get him, pry him away with whether it's a draft asset or expiring deal or whatnot. I think that's something that wouldn't shock me at this point.
Well, it stands to reason that neither of these teams are done, because neither of them have completely exhausted their resources. I still think Phoenix has some room to get better. Obviously, the Ayton stuff is still out there. I'm not sure what they could get for him if they're looking to even move him at this point. And the Nets, they're in asset collection mode at this point. So I expect them to be busy. You mentioned Jay Crowder, likely to get a first, maybe a lottery protected first from one of these teams looking to win a title this year, in a year where we have so much parity and we didn't expect all this craziness at the deadline.
I would almost expect this to kick off like Denver has to be looking to make a move at this point. Denver can't be sitting pat right now and happy with the situation that they're in and need to think they need to find a way to add a little bit more as well. I know they're using Bones Highland as a target, but I mean, this might kick off even more of an arms race in the Western Conference for teams trying to level up. I think this will be this could make the trade deadline even more interesting. The fact that it happened, I mean, basically a little over 12 hours before the deadline hits, we might see some stuff here. It's going to be interesting for some Nets fans though, Dave, when they wake up in a few hours going like, wait, what?
Yeah, you gotta hate a middle of the night trade when you're on the East Coast time. We're gonna wrap it up there, but keep it locked into The Athletic for all your trade deadline needs. For Mo Dakhil, I'm Dave DuFour.